Ilse Koch was the wife of concentration camp commandant Karl Otto Koch and was one of the most depraved humans to ever exist. The list of the horrific things that she did to her fellow human beings is unfathomable. But before we get into today's story, please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share, as well as hit the notifications bell so you don't miss any of our uploads. Ilse Koch was born on September 22, 1906 in Dresden, Germany, and was known as a polite and happy little girl throughout her childhood. At the age of 15, Isla went to school to become an accountant, and she used her education to become a bookkeeping clerk, and then she later became a member of the Nazi Party in 1932. By 1934, she had met her husband Karl Otto Koch, and she married him in 1936. 1 year after that, her husband was posted at Buchenwald, one of the world's worst concentration camps of the Nazi Party. Isla had a love of opulence and luxury, and she cooked the books by selling valuable collectibles and family heirlooms that were confiscated from the prisoners to build herself an indoor sports arena for horseback riding, built using the free labor of the inmates. Her husband was transferred to Majdanek extermination and concentration camp, but Isla stayed in Buchenwald until the end of the war, when they were both arrested for their crimes. After Isla grew tired of her indoor arena, she set her sights on other things throughout the camp, and she soon became known as the Beast of Buchenwald. Koch would taunt the prisoners in an attempt to get them to look at her. Once they looked at her, she would beat and torture them. During her trials later on, it was told that she was very excited about sending children to the gas chambers. Koch would be horseback riding in her indoor arena and would leave to go throughout the entire camp to scout out prisoners who had tattoos that she liked. Koch worked with the camp doctor and worked out a sort of a deal to do testing on people that had tattoos in order to determine if they are more deviant than those that do not have them. Then she would force them to be deviant in some way, thus giving her and the doctor an excuse to skin them alive, keep the skin, and then have them incinerated. How would she get them to look at her? Well, Koch was known for wearing very revealing clothing inside the camp that would show off her bust and her neckline along with her legs. In a sex-deprived state such as in the camps, sometimes the men would look at her, then she would torture them and she would have them sent off for extermination. In her home, she would request that only teenage boys go to her home. She would have them serve her food in bed, but she was known to wear very revealing lingerie on purpose. If the teenager looked at her, they were doomed. If they accidentally had an erection, even though they absolutely hated and feared her more than anything, they would also be killed. One survivor account survived the ordeal as a teenager working in her home by looking at the floor and his dirty feet. No matter what she did or said, he would just keep staring at his feet to keep himself from getting killed. Despite all these strange things that her twisted mind came up with, she also had taken several lovers in Buchenwald, and it was widely known that her marriage to the commandant was an open marriage. When the war ended and her camp was about to be liberated, Koch's husband had already been executed. DNA testing did not exist in those days, but several items were found that were thought to be made of human flesh. These items were lampshades, book covers, and hand gloves, to name a few, but also artwork with tattoos. She insisted that the artwork was made of goat skin, because we all know how much goats love to get tattoos. She sent many book covers, gloves, and lampshades, supposedly to family and friends as Christmas presents. Ho, 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 Merry Christmas. But Of course, investigators could not prove what kind of skin they were made of, and there was no evidence, so she was acquitted. But with the camp liberation, word spread around about Kosch's involvement in the torture and murder of the Jews, and public pressure was put on to bring her to trial again. While on the stand, Kosch announced that she was 8 months pregnant. This was strange because she was 41 years old at the time of the announcement, and she had a son with an unknown father, which was born while she was in prison. She had previously had another son with her husband, but they were both placed into foster homes after she was arrested and Kosch was killed, and gave birth to the second child in prison. 2 years after her conviction, her sentence was reduced to only 4 years because there was no evidence that she had selected inmates for extermination for their tattooed skin or that she possessed any articles made of human flesh. The court thought, hey, maybe this is made of goat skin, and she was released. She was rearrested later due to public outrage, and her new trial began in 1950 with over 200 witnesses against her and 50 for her defense. 4 witnesses testified they saw Kosch select prisoners specifically for their tattoos, or that they were seen human skin lampshades being made. Again, she was convicted. During her time in prison, she had appealed her case several times, but the appeals were always dismissed. Her second son, that was born while she was imprisoned at Dachau, visited her for several years while she served her life sentence. Upon his visit on September 1st, 1967, he found that she had committed suicide in her cell. You may be wondering at this point, what happened to the lampshades? Well, they were never recovered, and many historians doubted their existence until not too long ago. After Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, many people had to clear out their homes in the aftermath for a number of reasons. Mark Jacobson, a journalist, bought a lampshade at a yard sale where the owner indicated it was made of human flesh. He bought it for $35 as sort of a, yeah, sure it is type deal. He thought it was interesting, and the color and slight oil in the lampshade made it very unique. After having the unimpressive lamp in his home for several years, it drove him nuts to know whether it was or was not a real human skin lampshade. So he sent it out to a lab to have it tested. $6,000 later, it was confirmed that it was made of human skin. Now, of course, any rational human being would want to donate it to a museum. But guess what? Nobody wanted it for several reasons. For starters, the lampshades are sensationalized. Holocaust museums do not need a lampshade to show the atrocities that happened there. The death of 6 million innocent Jews is enough, and the lampshade would just cause a distraction of the education necessary to understand the true effects of the atrocities that took place. Makes sense. Second, most cities and states have specific laws about how human remains are required to be handled. Bringing a human skin lampshade to a museum is the same as bringing in a mummy or a fresh corpse. It is illegal, and human remains are required to determine lineage and be buried or left where they are. So even if the museums were interested, the laws do not allow them to accept the lampshade. So what is the next best thing to do? Sell it on eBay, of course. Except for one thing. eBay does not allow any items to be sold that have anything to do with the victims of the Holocaust. So I guess he is stuck with it. I would personally make a display in my own home with that lampshade, along with some other memorabilia, charge maybe $2 on Saturdays to view it, and then donate all the money to charities that have to do with the Holocaust survivors. But that's just me. All right, everybody, that is going to do it for today's video. Please do not forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons, along with the notification bell so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Until then, as always, your support is greatly appreciated. And until next time, I hope you have a great day.